All right, here we go. Back again. Believe it or not, right? With email number 550,000. Anyways, a long day today. It's dark outside. We just got back. Sarah had to go feed, swim with, and bathe elephants again. Went to this elephant sanctuary where this group of people they rescue elephants. Pretty cool place to go visit. So that was our day today. What else? And I was thinking today, the comment on Bill Gates the other day, how it's no conspiracy bullshit or lie. There's a blatant video of him telling a meeting, I think it's a World Health Organization or something meeting, talking about how they can get the population of the world down. I felt so bad for him and that other Nazi, that Fossey guy. These guys are feeling kind of crowded. Obviously they don't get out and get away from people too much. And I was thinking, if any of you out there have a direct line to Bill Gates, or even that Fossey dude, could you please let them know that I could take them into the middle of nowhere for them? I would do that for them in a second. I think that'd be a great favor to them, seeing how they feel so choked and smothered and crowded, overcrowded with human beings today on the face of the earth. Obviously, they need somebody like me to take them into the middle of nowhere, and I will do that. All right? So if anybody's got a direct line to Bill Gates, line it up. I will take Bill Gates into the middle of nowhere. And Fossey, too. 2-for-1 deal. I won't charge a dime. All right? Now, moving along, let's get to hear some very important voices, shall we? I have an email here titled, Ego Not Big Enough to Deny Existence. Nothing to hide. Ever since I saw the Patterson film, I've always known Bigfoot is real. By the way, Steve, my name is Mike Jensen. I grew up in a small town in western Washington called Maple Valley on 5 acres and had lots of forest around us. I never had any experiences I can recall growing up. In the early summer of '95, I, along with 5 others, were attending a native ceremony in the foothills of Mount Rainier near Fairfax, Washington. It is an area I traveled to many times, a very remote private property. We would be at this property most every weekend during the daylight hours, most often. Most time in the AM, we would be off collecting firewood and preparing the lodge and fire for the day's sweat. We also were always careful about keeping the area clean and tidy. It is all about connecting with the nature and spirit. I was the fire tender, so I was required to keep the fire burning throughout the ceremony. On this evening, it was clear and warm, with the stars visible through the canopy of the trees. Sometime after midnight, I heard a raven call out, more than a few hundred yards up the hill from me. Ravens are more common in this area, but it was very strange for a call out at this hour, as it was well after midnight. Soon after that, I could hear branches breaking and something moving down the hill in my direction. The fire I sat next to was set in a pit that is about 10 feet in diameter, with the fire itself was no bigger than 2 foot, a typical campfire, and putting off a soft light, giving me a comfortable space for my chair with the thick shrubs and forest to my back. Before I could react, this creature was directly behind me and made no noise moving through the slow. Every hair in my body was at attention. All right, I'm guessing that's a typo, probably meant bush. Having been to many similar ceremonies, I was not necessarily fearful, but definitely concerned. I didn't make a single movement, and there was no smell that I can recall. I could hear heavy breathing and then muffled growling. I couldn't move. This was possibly around 10 minutes that it was in the shrub behind me. All right, the shrub is what you meant earlier. I did wonder what message it had for me, but didn't understand it if it was sharing anything with me. For years, I always thought it was a wolf, but no reports of any in this area at that time. I never did hear this creature leave the area. I do have interesting thoughts about humanity, that we have been manipulated from birth to repress our full ability. I absolutely agree with that. Children are able to see far more than adults. Yes, they are, or were. I don't know about today, but for certain, for a while now, simply because they are still open to the possibility Parents need to allow their children to express themselves in this direction and keep their mental cognitive skills open. In my opinion, it will take generations of this practice at teaching for a difference to be recognized. We must begin this process now with this newest generation. I've never believed that the human race is the end-all be-all in this existence. This solar system is so vast. It is also only one in this great expanse of space. On a side note, I now live in Nanaimo and a carpenter. If you'd ever need a helping hand, it would be great to meet you and share some thoughts and complete a project. It's been years since I've hunted or been fishing. Thanks for the time. For what you have established here, it's a great service, Mike. Mike, appreciate that, man. Especially appreciate the offer. Because I think I'd be scared to actually have a true carpenter at my place for the fear of being laughed off my property at what I've done on my own. No, but seriously, that's a very kind offer, man. Big time. I just might look you up. Because I definitely am a one-man show there, and I'm not too fast at getting things done sometimes. But anyways, there you go. I do agree with the teaching the children, but how do you do it, right? I think first off, I don't know where to start. I think for me, today, if I was a parent with children who understood, old enough to understand, I would point out the names and the faces and the wrongdoings of every single person who has been criminally put in a place of, quote, leader, end quote, and I would show them and teach them exactly what these people have done. That's a good start, right? And then eventually break them into seeing how, if they go this direction, they're going to be manipulated the whole way, right? And then eventually try to teach them skills and try to draw their natural skills out and enhance them. Anyways, I'm gonna shut up there because I could babble for a while on that one, right? Appreciate you, man. Now, what's this one? This is titled Sabe People. Hey, Steve, John Church again. I've written into you a couple of times before. I don't know if you have read my emails, but I just wanted to share another experience from December, this past deer season. I was putting my summit climbing stand together. I was getting ready to come out of the woods at dusk when I got this feeling that I was being watched. I looked up and saw a large silhouette about 40 yards from me. It was squatting behind some blown-over trees watching me. I never heard it make a sound at all. I finished getting ready and walked out of the woods. As I walked out, it followed me to the edge of the woods and stopped. That was on Thursday evening, and then on the following Saturday evening, I had another strange thing happen. About an hour before dark, between the field and my stand about 50 yards from me, all hell broke loose. It sounded like something was breaking trees and thrashing around on the hill close to the field. This lasted for about 30 minutes. Then everything got completely quiet. I stayed in my stand until dark. When I came out, I had the feeling that I was being watched again. I could tell that it was in the edge of the woods, but I couldn't see it in the dark. Then when my son came out, he said that he had gotten the feeling of being watched when he came out into the field also. I told him that he was because it had watched me too. For the life of me, I just can't understand why these things keep messing with me and my family. Maybe when we all learn the truth, we will know the answers to all of our questions. Thanks for all you do. If you ever get to come down to North Carolina hunting, let me know. I'd love to take you whitetail hunting with me and my son, John Church. John, I would take you guys up on that offer in a heartbeat. And I think your rut is later, isn't it? December, January, I believe, which isn't bad timing for me. Why do they keep doing this? I don't know. Like I've shared before, we are way too easy to avoid, right? Humans have got to be the easiest things to avoid on the planet. So I don't know. I'm sure we're going to find out, though. Absolutely sure. All right, what do we got? This one has no subject in the title. A lot of emails come with no title. I'm guilty of doing the same thing. It's no big deal, and I don't need a title on your emails, you guys, just saying. Here we go. Hi, Steve. I'm 57 and had lots of weird stuff go down in my life. You can use my name, Raymond Mimbs. M-I-M-B-S, Mimbs. As for the kids, something always was looking in my two nieces' windows. Of course, my brother-in-law Nate got mad when I told them it may be a sabe, and he's got them all laughing at me to this day. Call me crazy, but things just are locked in my brain. I remember orbs in the closet after my dad died when I was 7. I remember water coming in the bathroom sink there too. I've seen strange red light come up, out in a field at 7. I've seen eyes and dark things in the woods, while driving roadways. I heard trees fall and knocks while I rested from chopping firewood. I heard the woman screams up in my land, which I just sold because the activity. Oh, sorry. I hear the woman screams up on my land, North Georgia, which I just sold because the activity. Okay, there's a punctuation's a mess here, you guys, but we'll get through it. Wall slaps. Hearing running around outside at night. Feeling I was being watched. Had small trees pulled up. Some tree breaks 20 feet in the air. And even one night, something picked up my rental shed and dropped it back on the blocks. So, I stoked my wood stove with all the fat lighter I had, and the stove was cherry red. And behind my shed, I heard something scream and howl from touching the stovepipe. It knocked it down. I had feeling being paralleled. Walking and ride 4 wheels on power lines on Piohoti Trail, Piohoti Trail. I don't feel safe out in the woods anymore. It's funny, no one laughed at me when I told them up in North Georgia. In fact, told me their experience. Well, it seems I can feel their presence. For sure. And I know to book it out of there. Once I seen a small multicolored orbs in the cemetery when visiting my parents and great-grandparents' graves at 11 p.m. Not just where my parents were either. I keep telling myself I didn't see it, and I think I've seen 2 now over the years. Why would I do that, lying to myself? I guess I'm just afraid of the unknown, and not too sure they all have good intentions toward me. Even now in town, I've hawks and owls, day and night banging on my apartment. It's spooky and it's odd to me. Well, thank you for listening to my rant. I guess y'all can have a laugh at me. I don't know anymore, Steve. Stay safe out there. Hope you not block me because I love the information being put out there by the people, and I need truth, not the so-called crypto researcher's point of view, right? With kind regards, Raymond Mimbs, Dublin, Georgia, USA. Why would we block you? Why would we block you? You're coming forward with shit that you're seeing and you didn't ask for it, right? You're welcome here, man. You're treated with respect. There's nothing to be worried about here. It's a safe place. And obviously, you know, after you've been following this channel, you're not alone, right? There is literally hundreds of thousands of people coming here and sharing the truth. Now, one thing, I've shared this, a lot of new people here, but I did do a video on death a few years ago, and I almost nearly died and having some other experiences people I know and trust have shared with me when it comes to death. And when you just mentioned about the lights when your family member passing, a guy I know, him and his sisters were in the hospital room with their father who was dying. This is back east in Ontario. And he showed me this photograph. Now get this one. He told me that when his father passed, right before them laying in the hospital bed, that they could smell, all of them clearly smelled pipe tobacco. And his father's brother, his uncle, was a regular pipe smoker. And it smelt exactly like the smoke that he used to make from his pipe when he was alive. Then, the one sister said, look, pointing to the upper corner of the hospital room, and there in the upper corner were 3 or 4 different colored balls of light, and he got a picture of it with his iPhone and shared it with me. So there you go. That's all I know. Take from what you will or leave it. But that was told me directly from somebody that I trust with the photo. All right? Crazy, right? Another topic for another time, possibly. Now, rolling along. Another thing too, you guys, I do not unsubscribe people from here, so if you come here regularly just to check the channel, see if there's a new video, and you have subscribed, you may want to check your subscription status, because YouTube unsubscribes people from here nonstop. Don't know why, haven't a clue. Excuse me. Alright, who's next? Hello, Steve. A little backstory about myself. I'm a veteran, Army Combat Arms, and was an amateur cage fighter, retired now. I'm 6'1", 240 pounds. I've been in the woods all my life, or in the fields working a farm. There's not much I have not saw or heard before. I've been hunting as long as I can remember, from swamps, mountains, desert, and combat zones. I tell you, this is not to act macho, but so you can understand I've always moved to danger rather than from it. I've always felt it is my duty to help people that cannot help themselves. I also wanted to add that after this, I started doing research for answers. In some of your videos I have watched, some of the points you touched on hit home a lot, i.e., the one with the game warden and the veteran, but my brothers and wife call it my spidey senses. And it was taking 2 weeks of me thinking about this before sharing this with you. Okay, man, I'm glad to have you here. I'm super stoked that listening to people speak here triggered you to sharing. Here we go. My story. So I had a buddy come down from Chicago. I had met a few years back that is from Germany, and that has never killed a deer before, and had only been hunting once before with me in Nebraska, but did not see anything. So the day started in the Ozark National Forest in Arkansas, the state I was born and raised in. I've been in Arkansas. We drove in and made a base camp in a kind of a secluded area, but not too far from the road, in case of an accident with him being a kind of a new hunter and all. We set up the tents and got all the gear ready to go out at about 10ish in the morning and hiked out. I killed a doe around 1300 that afternoon, about a mile out from camp. As I always do, I butchered her where I found her and left the carcass there for the predators to eat. The rest, we have big cats, wolves, coyotes, black bear, etc. here. As I'm doing this, I just feel something is watching us about 5 minutes into it. So I say to my buddy to watch our backs because there are black bears and big cats here. Are you ready to shoot something? Knowing that the black bears were hibernating at this time already, and the cats move in deep when they start hearing all the shooting. I don't know why I told him this, but I just felt it wasn't safe to be there anymore. So we get back to camp, put the doe in the ice chest, and then go into town to get some ice to put on her. Get back from town, cook dinner, sit around campfire until about 1900-ish. When it started to get darkish, I could hear what I thought was coyotes around, or about where I made my kill. And it only sounded like 2 or 3 when we normally around here. It only sounded like 2 or 3 when we normally around here they run in packs of 10 to 15. Holy shit, no way. That and the sound was a little off. Next, it sounded like 2 crows was talking back and forth after dark, and I would say some distance between. It's hard to determine when you're in ridges, and you know the sound is bouncing around. But again, the 2 crows sounded off. The crows sounded different than any other crow I've ever heard. Okay, we got no punctuation again. I can't pinpoint why I know it was different, but I just know that it was not coyotes and crows communicating. So that goes on back and forth until about 2200, where it sounded like one group was behind our tent and one in front of our tent, and about every 3 to 5 minutes calling out to each other slowly, getting closer. Then that stopped completely, and then something sounded close to an elk, how it starts at a lower tone, then goes to a higher pitch, but this was a very deep growl to very high-pitched scream, almost like a woman, but I would say more like a panther scream. Never in my life had I heard anything like that, or could imagine how big the lungs had to be to make that sound. This goes on for a few minutes, back and forth. 2 of them, one in front of the tent, probably meant tent, and one behind the tent, again getting closer. Then about 60 yards in front of the tent, what sounded like someone took a big stick and hit a tree with it twice, almost like a home run being hit on a baseball field. And every muscle in my body locked up, almost like I had a full body cramp. So I tell my buddy, "You get shit, let's go, or I'm effing leaving your ass here." Then about that time, about 40 to 50 yards behind the tent, it sounded like another one was doing the same thing, but the tree broke and fell on the first hit. I reached down, grabbed my friend, picked him up off the ground, and yelled, "Now." I grabbed my 1911 .45 and my Remington 700 .308, and my buddy grabbed his Hoa 6.5 Creedmoor. And I swear to you, nothing said anything, but in my brain I knew this thing was telling me to leave now or you will die. And that is not enough guns and ammo to kill them, and that there was more than two, and they want us gone and gone now. When we were coming out of the tent, I planned to come out shooting. And that is when I got those feelings. I have never felt so hopeless, holding a rifle in my hand, or felt like I was completely surrounded / outnumbered. Or clear on, in other words, get the F out of here without trying to harm us or you will die. We left everything behind and drove 20 minutes to the closest town and slept in the truck at a truck stop. Went back the next morning and all our stuff was still there and nothing was touched. I did look at this tree behind our tent that was about 6 inches in diameter. The tree was broken, about 5 feet up from the ground, and fell over about 40 yards behind our tent. The same one that my buddy had took a shit at earlier before and pissed at. There was tall grass around it. You could see that it was disturbed all around it, but no footprints or anything like that I could see. I don't know why I didn't take a picture of that tree, but I didn't. We both just looked at each other and packed our shit and went back to my house. The next day we went hunting in another place. No way. I'm surprised your buddy didn't get on the first plane out of there. Sorry. The next day we went hunting in another place where my buddy killed an 8-point whitetail. Oh, right on. So I almost always know something bad is about to happen before it does, or someone is watching me. Then finding out someone really was about 75% of the time. My instincts are correct on that. Or knowing one of my 5 kids are in trouble or doing something they shouldn't have done. I'm not saying I could find a guy hiding in the woods spying on me like the game warden story, but I will say I would know he is there. That I do know. Also, I normally always call it when one of my military brothers call me and are having issues. We talk on a weekly basis, if not more than that, and live all over the U.S. So my question is, do you feel my mind was playing tricks on me? I do believe the brain is the most powerful tool a man can have, hands down, next to hope. My buddy heard this also, but he was not as distraught or uneasy as I was. He was more confused and I think scared because he knew I was scared. With that being said, I've been back hunting in that area with another buddy, but not at night. I go out hunting after daylight, and I'm back to my truck before it gets dark. Again, I have not felt like that after that. But note, I do go to work at 4 a.m. in the morning. I live about an hour from the place this happened to, on a farm. And there's been about 6 times where I feel in the morning when walking to my truck to go to work that they are watching me. I don't feel threatened, but I feel that they're watching though. This happened back in November 2019, and randomly, I feel like this is at home since then, including this morning. I've had all types of feelings on this as I need to go find out what these are and make contact. Do I need to go kill it so I can forget about them too? I'm just crazy and it was nothing. Until this happened, I've been on the fence on if Bigfoot was real or not. I've grown up hearing about them from my family, mostly my mom's side, that are Native American. My name is Josh Hill. I've done about 200 hours of research. Some I believe and some I don't. But that my opinion, not a fact. One with the sheriff checking game cameras, and now he was overwhelmed with fear and didn't know why, and then he saw one. And people say they can almost make the sound about anything, to birds, to dogs, barking, to whistling. And I guess it's called tree knocking when they hit trees. You seem to be a no BS type, is why I'm asking and sharing this with you. I am going to go forward? You got a few typos here, buddy. Sorry, man. And try to find answers for myself. My internal battle is hunt them as game, because I think I was so pissed off they scared me that bad, or to go in with an open mind and try to learn. But one thing is for sure, I'll never go back in without taking weapons. That's understandable, man. And if you've been here for any amount of time, you know what I'm going to say. You already know what it was. Before you emailed me, you already know what it was. You're just looking for a little bit of somebody to say, yeah, man. That's what it was. And you're in the same position as I don't know how many other people, dude. It's like, you didn't ask for this shit. I didn't ask for this shit. Nobody did. Nobody does. And then eventually you have to, unfortunately, you got to finally succumb and give in and accept the facts, right? You can ignore them, pretend it's not happening, talk yourself out of it, but it's not going to change shit. This is happening. It's real. There's nothing I can do about it to change it. Nothing you can do it. Can't change it. It is happening. It's happening. But anyway, you're going to do what you're going to do. You're going to look into this. You're going to look into every avenue, I hope, and you're going to listen to every single person. If you can get a hold of that game warden and talk to him firsthand, I would suggest you do it. And he would probably be relieved to speak to you. But just make sure on your journey of looking for answers, you listen to every single person no matter what. And don't listen to somebody who needs you to accept their views. All right? That's key. If you do that, then you stop dead in your tracks of actually learning true knowledge. Now, everything you shared here is a pattern that has been shared here in the past. If you've listened to many of the videos, you will see that. You're going to recognize everything you've experienced. You're going to recognize it in other people's emails. Don't stop digging. Whatever you come up with, if you got something new, something that's going to help somebody, get it to me, man, all right? And I'll keep getting this shit to you through this route right here, too. I will never stop. Now, I don't think I've read this. This came in 2020, February 2020. And it's titled, My Second Sasquatch. Hello, Steve. This is Justin Meyer again. You're welcome to use my name and contact me. I sent you a brief description of my encounter near Riverton, Wyoming. I'd done it that way so others might see it. There is more to it. The whole rendezvous area is creepy, especially if you're alone. My mom and stepdad lived in the trailer park behind the meatpacking plant that our family friend used to own. My granddad, also a World War II Army vet, and used to work for the county road department until he retired. He's been gone since '93. He used to tell us about Sasquatch. Friends of ours who live on or near the reservation would tell us. Then after I first started fishing at the ponds and the two rivers, I would get eerie feelings. I knew what it was. I already seen one on the south side of Billings, Montana in '94, so I would go with my stepdad or with friends. One day, him and I decided to go upriver a little bit on the big wind. We saw a point by a tree to drop down to the bank. When we did, we smelled it. We saw the footprints, and there was a big hole dug out under the side of the bank. And we even saw long, straggly hair clumps and smelled feces and wet dog. Scary wasn't half of it. We then proceeded to walk down river near the water. I started looking around, and I saw it. It was black. My stepdad then saw it. It was about 200 feet away, and it was swaying and peeking from behind a tree. Now understand where we lived was about 200 yards away. That night, I heard the neighbors' dogs going berserk. I had a bad gut feeling. I slowly got up to the window, which is about 8 feet up from the ground outside, and I saw it looking right at me. I ducked, got my ex up and out of the bedroom. This thing tried to open the window but didn't succeed. I got my stepdad and mom up. We went to look outside the living room window, and we all saw it. It was eye to eye with that window by then, ugly and intimidating. There was not enough light that we all saw its face, cone-shaped head and black hair. And this lasted maybe 3 minutes, and it finally left. Needless to say, we never returned to that area to fish. We stuck with Boysen Lake and the Lander area for that. I grew up listening to stories about them. I've had friends who have seen them, including a retired game and fish warden and a retired deputy. On the 4th of July that summer, we and a bunch of friends were outside my parents' home. We all heard it screaming. It sounded very close. Perhaps near this house it was closer to the river. Some old man who would host fishing derbies for kids on his private pond. The next spring I wanted to check the area out, and sure enough, some of us saw more footprints in the parking area in the snow. We saw the toe marks and etc. Do with this as you wish. Just don't be alone if you go looking for them. Endo email. There's another one. Justin, appreciate you, man. Thanks for sending that in. I wonder if your family who saw it out the window, I wonder if they're following this channel, listening to everybody here. If they want to chime in on what they saw too, maybe. Or not. That's fine. 3 minutes. Picture that, you guys. Picture 3 minutes. Take a look at your watch and time 3 minutes. For me, in wildlife sighting times, that's like 3 days. 3 minutes. That's a long time to have something like that standing outside your window and not knowing if it's going to come in and violate your ass or not, right? It's a little bit much in the stress department. Keep sending it in, man. You got more. You got more knowledge you want to share with the people? Send it in. You got more people around your neighborhood that need to hear this crap? Sorry, I don't mean crap. Sometimes I just use goofy words. If you know somebody around your community that needs to hear this, send it to them, all right? Here's another one. My encounter at 8 years old. Steve, this happened to me when I was 8 years old while camping with my family in the Smoky Mountains. I'm now 56 and have lived with this all my damned life. I've attached it in word format. I can't thank you enough for what you're doing. You're the tip of the spear for what should have been happening decades ago. Thank you, man, Jeff. Okay, man, appreciate the kind words. We may have read this. I don't know. We've had a lot of people email in from when they were younger, and we've had a shitload of emails come from the Great Smoky Mountains. So here we go. Steve, I live in Virginia, and we're around 3 hours from the Great Smoky Mountains. When I was around 8 years old, so this is around 71, I'm 56 now, I went with my family to the Smoky Mountains. We went camping. The campground we ended up in was kind of off of the beaten path and up in the timber. There were other families there, but not a lot. Later in the evening, the other kids and I were out passing football. There was another guy around my age, but the rest were girls, ranging from 8 to around 12 or 13 years old. It was around dusk, so the light was fading away, but not enough that we couldn't see the football, which was orange, so we could see it. As we were passing the football around, one of the girls threw it way over my head and it went into the woods. The campground was surrounded by woods, so we were in there pretty deep. I went after the ball, which had gone about 15 to 20 feet into the woods and down the embankment. I remember getting the football, and when I looked up, about 20 to 25 feet on down the embankment, I saw what at first looked like one of those wooden statues you see at a tourist location, etc. I wondered why a statue would be there until it moved. The rest of this thing steps out from behind the tree it was beside of, and we stared at each other for 4 or 5 seconds. I've never seen anything as humongous as this thing. I remember it had some gray around its chest area, but never really got a good look at his face, but it was huge. I was frozen and couldn't move. It moved so quickly. Behind the tree, it almost disappeared. It was that quick. I ran as fast as I could back and told everyone that King Kong was in the woods. And that is the only thing I could say that it looked like. The adults went and looked in the woods, but it was starting to get dark, and they told me I'd probably seen a bear. This wasn't a bear. This was a monster. The only person that believed me was my dad. We talked about it just a few times when I grew older, and he believed me. My dad was a World War II Navy vet, and like your grandfather, the best generation this world has produced. I lost my dad when I turned 17 years old to a massive heart attack. So your site, Steve, is the first place I've ever found that I felt as if I could share what happened to me and no one would make fun of me or call me stupid. You know, fuck those people. That's exactly how the hell I feel about it. I've dealt with the people that ridiculed me and said I was full of it or didn't know what I saw. Trust me, when someone sees one of these monsters, you never forget it. Everything, especially for an 8-year-old, changes. I knew that monsters existed all of my life. I really didn't know anything at that age but about Bigfoot, so King Kong's the only thing I could compare it to until I knew more about these things. I grew up in Virginia, so I live in the woods 24/7. Every time I go in the woods, this memory is sitting there, and I'm always on high alert, period. I thank God for you and your channel. This is the first place I've ever felt I can tell what happened to me, and you guys get it. Damn, man, I have tears in my eyes because I've lived with this all my life. Anything I can ever do, please let me know, and thank you, Steve, for everything you're doing. Sincerely, Jeff Chalfa. Jeff, I read this before. I know I did. I don't mind reading it again. That was in 2020, February. You still here, man? I hope you're still here. If you are, you've heard a lot of people since then, right? Share it. That's what you could do for me. Share it. Share your story loud. Share it everywhere. Talk to people in your community and get them to email me if they've got something they want to add in. That's what you can do. I want to hear from everyone. No matter what. Who's next? Haven't a clue what this is about, but here we go. This is titled Southern Ohio. Now it's titled Red. Hello again. I was the one that wrote you about sky people and helicopters on January 14th, 23. Well, the saga continues down here, only there's something new added to the mix now. First, I added Grammarly to this, so I know how it absolutely messes with you. You can thank me later, LOL. Okay. Doesn't guarantee I'm going to read it smooth. The power company came through and shaved the entire top of the hill off for their work. That I thought might slow or at least put an end to them for the season. Well, it wasn't there screaming all over the hills that the power company didn't... Well, it wasn't there screaming all over the hills that the power company didn't touch. I was out with my 3 dogs in the lower field and trees started breaking and all hell broke loose. All 3 dogs flew back up on the porch, barking their heads off at the place it happened. As I still get PTSD from the not needed wars I fought, the sidearm instinctively came out and was pointed right at one of them. I know I was on target and just couldn't see a thing. How do I know? Because everything stopped, like it froze time. That told me everything I needed to know about the threat. I took my dogs back inside, and then I went up the field alone to look at the area. Nothing, except now a hole in the wood line on the hill. I could see straight back 100 yards. The activity's been ramping up here for a few weeks now, sometimes nightly, mostly way off, so I don't worry about it. I'm not looking for a confrontation with them, but if it needs to be. Their sign is everywhere now, and freshly placed. The X on the hill in plain sight. The broken limbs placed into the high limbs of trees, and the vocalizations late, 3 a.m. in the woods. Since we have lived here, we've had a relationship with them. I do my thing, they do theirs. I told them I would not enter your area, and until today, we had that. I think there are new ones here now that don't know me. Still no game anywhere close. I have to drive several miles to see deer wandering the fields. So much is happening with the helicopters as well, the civilian type. From last I wrote, have been replaced with gunships from time to time. They appear when odd things happen, lights in the woods, or if there's some odd humming, heard for a day, and then they're here all around. I have photos of the helos just too far away to look like giant bugs in the sky. the so-called weather station that no one ever goes to, has a lot of activity around it. There seems to be some interest in my home. We get visitations a lot of the time. Dogs barking, staring across the field at the barn. Last year I found an X in front of it that got removed, and there's been no reoccurrence since. I have a trail cam on one side of the house. Absolutely nothing happens over there. Gee, I wonder why. LOL. I've tried trading, and there's interest in that, but with the things that are happening now, I think I'll keep to myself and see where things go. My favorite black cat went missing 3 days ago, and I don't know if there's any correlation there. When I was out on the deck calling him around 10 that night, his feeding time came in and when I was out on the deck calling him around 10 that night, his feeding time came in and get warm. I think he meant his feeding time to come in and get warm. Something huge showed up on the hill next to the house. Again, I couldn't see it. War teaches you to have a sixth sense. Mine was popping. I was always holding him and playing with him outside. I wonder if they took him. I guess I'll never see him again now. When my dog had to be put down a while ago, well, you know how that feels. Until next I write, be safe and keep it coming. This crap needs to be told. Wow. All right, so that was in July 2023. Michael, hopefully you are still hanging with us. Nothing bad's happened to you or your family. And you want to email us again. Could you? If you would. Could you email us an update and tell us what's up? What have you done to prevent, cope, whatever? There's going to be a lot of people here listening, not speaking publicly, that want to know too. I guarantee you that one. So if you're still here, man, throw us down an update, all right? There you go. More similar things in that email as well, right? Here's another one titled Maybe. Me and a friend, 13 years old, were hanging out at an old garage with older guys, brothers, and friends. It was cold weather, but not bad. We were volunteered to go out into a pasture to a metal electrical tower where the owner piled old fence posts. Black as pitch, hard to see where we were stepping. Each of us shouldered a fence post before we could even turn around. A horrendous screech came from what seemed to be a few yards from us. The fear was so instant and overwhelming. We had both pitched our fence post and began running before the screech even stopped. No doubt. My friend was always able to outrun me. I was tail end Charlie in what felt like lead feet. I could almost feel claws about to rake me. We had to scale a 5-foot bull fence before charging breathlessly into the garage. We told the older guys what happened, and they ridiculed us good. But none of them would go get any wood, though we ridiculed them back with the dare to go themselves. Was it a Sasquatch? Was it a Sasquish, as I call them? Who knows? Could have been a bobcat den under the wood. I've just never felt fear like that before, though. And this was in central Illinois, in corn country. I grew up in the woods at a place called Hopedale, an acreage called Snyder's Place, with a legendary place called Devil's Elbow, with a story kind of like the Donner Party. I have another story back then when I was in the 3rd grade about something I believe placed a great fear in my mind that kept me up a tree for hours. I love your show, Steve. Hunting and Sasquish. Keep up the good work. Okay, man. With a story kind of like the Donner Party. What's that? The Donner Party. That's not that party of Russians that was up in the snow, was it? I don't think that's what that is. I haven't a clue what the Donner Party is. So, anybody wants to chime in? Chime in. Put a link to the Donner Party in the comment section below or not, whatever. If anybody's got any interest, they're going to look it up anyways and have a peek. Yeah, what else? Bobcats? I'm pretty certain you knew it wasn't a bobcat well before you decided to write this into me. You know it wasn't a bobcat. And there you go. Right? Another, and another, and another. How long's this one? This one's not too long. I'm going to squeeze one more voice in here, all right? One more. This is titled, there's no title. Hi, Steve. My name is Doug. First, I wanted to thank you for all your hard work and your effort. You do a great job and help many. I spent a great amount of time in the woods my entire life. My Boy Scout troop hiked all over the Midwest. We did take long excursions as well. We even crossed the Tetons once, starting in Idaho and finishing at Lake Jenny, Wyoming. I lived in Asheville, North Carolina for 30 years as an adult and hiked the western part of North Carolina extensively. Surprisingly, my experience comes from central Illinois in 1967. A friend and myself were at our favorite fishing spot when all of a sudden we heard and felt footsteps that shook the earth. We both looked at each other wide-eyed and started running to get away. The bad part is that we had to run towards the footsteps to get out. I was expecting to see whatever this was that was shaking the earth at any moment, and luckily that didn't happen. After that, we both did countless things in those woods until I moved away, with no other incidents. There was no fear about going back into the woods that I can remember. There was another part of the woods that I did avoid because of the creepy feelings I would get. But that's another email. Endo email. You should have sent them all in one, man. You should have sent them all in one. We want to hear them all in one. It's tough to write emails though, right? It's tough to write emails. What's this one? Oh, this is a book. Holy. All right, it's too late to start that one. Got somebody else with a fairly short one, maybe? What's this one? Nope, this one's a huge one, too. Damn. Okay, I'll try look. What's this one? Oh, this one's not too bad. I'll close up with this one. Mark this as read. Meaning not too bad in length. You guys all right? The title is I'm 70. Hi there. I was an avid high Sierra hiker in the 70s and 80s. I'm 70 years old now and not feeling so immortal like when I was young and thought I knew everything. I haven't told my story about my experiences for fear of being told that I'm crazy. I get a kick at the experts and scientists saying that if it didn't happen to them, your experience is not true. If I didn't see them on the street, that means they have never been there. In 1978, my wife, myself, and another couple were hiking in the high Sierras. We were stalked for several miles by what sounded like a very heavy-footed animal. Whatever it was making a very deep and powerful huffing sound, similar to a gorilla. It was terrifying to me because I knew all the sounds in the forest. You could feel the sound frequency deep in your chest. I tried to think that it was an animal of some sort, but the only thing that could have heavy footsteps like that doesn't exist in Mineral King Park. I've hiked all over that area, and even by myself at night. Thought I was immortal, you know. The thought of it diminished into my back burner of my mind, and I didn't think about it again until something brought the terrifying event back to my mind. A few years ago, I read a story about a full-scale rock wall painting by the local American natives in the same vicinity. I started to get chills down my spine and relive the experience. The archaeologist says the painting is over 500 years old. It's a painting of an entire Sasquatch family. Wow, and it's over 500 years old. Take note of that, you guys. There have been many sightings in the same area by reputable persons, including law enforcement. Another very strange occurrence happened to me. One afternoon, I fell asleep on a flat clearing in the forest and slept for around an hour. I was awakened by an unfamiliar sound. I awakened in the middle of a herd of 20 or so deer lying down around me. I thought I was dreaming. It was so surreal. Another time, a good friend from London, England was camping with me at Eagle Lake, Mineral King. The elevation is 10,100 feet there. We were fishing trout from morning to dusk, and we were hearing an unfamiliar sound. He sounded like a giant electrical transformer. We could hear it echoing in the adjacent gorge on the other side of Eagle Pass. What was even stranger was that there was a large gray cloud surrounding that area and should not have stayed there all day. And this is a no-fly zone for the military. I know this because my friend was an air traffic controller at Lemoore Naval Air Base. The hot air from the Mojave Desert flows to the west and creates such extreme downdrafts that a few military jets have crashed there. I also had a friend that was the Lemoore Naval Air Base F-18 instructor and also knew a couple of his trainees. Small world, eh? Getting back to the story. After we got back to our camp, we had a huge campfire going. It was October 15th, and at that elevation it was very cold. There was absolutely no one in the park. It was closed to the public. Best time to sneak in and enjoy a mosquito-free experience. It's the most beautiful time of the year there. We could see condors flying over Eagles Pass and have the lake all to ourselves. As I was getting the trout and cooking gear ready to cook over our fire, we could hear the humming sound coming from over the pass inside the ominous-looking gray cloud that should not have existed there the entire day. All of a sudden, a perfectly large vortex opened up in the cloud and a large flying craft slowly came out of it. We both were practically having a pee contest. As we were focusing on the hovering ship coming towards us, I thought that I was hallucinating. My puny mind told me that if I saw it, I will wake up from this nightmare. After I sent the my puny mind told me that if I SOS it, I will wake up from this nightmare. After I sent the SOS in its direction, all hell broke loose. It was like Encounters of the Third Kind was flashing colorful high-intensity lighting towards us. At that point in time, we surrendered to whatever they wanted from us. The craft was mesmerizing and unbelievable appearing. Its skin was shape-shifting and looked like molten metal, very similar to the color hanging octopus skin. That's all we remembered at that point in time. What troubled us was that there was a slight loss of time. Our campfire had greatly diminished and something didn't feel quite right. Also, my friend and I didn't want anything to do with talking about the event. We didn't talk about it for a couple of years. I've had terrible nightmares about it, even reliving what I couldn't remember during the event. My British friend has since passed away from throat cancer in 2010. He had never hiked anywhere and wanted me to show him the experience of being there. He got more than he bargained for. God rest his soul. Please forgive me if this sounds unbelievable, but I must tell my story before I'm gone too. Thank you, Giovanni. Wow. There you go. An honest man harboring a frickin' nightmare finally shares. And I hope it brought some comfort to you, sir. Appreciate you sending that in. It's a shitty experience. It's an alarming one. But sadly, it's got there's a lot of patterns and familiar points being shared there, right? That have been shared by who knows how many others. Crazy. There you go. So, take from them what you will or leave them, you guys, but keep them coming. Share my story at howtohunt.com, all right? You got something that you've been packing around forever, you want to get off your chest, you got some knowledge you want to share with the planet, through me and all these great people here, and just send it away to share my story at howtohunt.com. It'll get shared word for word. Talk to yous later.
Huh? Now I wait to see what the hell we're doing. take a while.
And this is how you come down.